In my last video, we set up a document for a double gatefold brochure. And you can see based on this illustration, the idea of how this will be folded, but this doesn't give you a really good idea of how to lay out your design within this particular spec. What we want to do is get a good understanding of where our front, our back, and our inside pages are going to be and what they're going to look like as far as the area is concerned. So in looking at this, I can see that it definitely has an inside and outside, but it also has 4 different panels. And it's a little bit confusing to determine what's going to be the first panel that I see once it's completely folded up. This one gives me a much better idea. So once the 4 panels are folded together, I've got a tall and thin area for my front and for the back. Then it's going to open up, and I've got these 2 little double flaps that's twice the size of my front. Now they are split down the seam, and I can treat these as 2 separate panels, but it would be great if I build out a graphic that incorporated the entire area. Then I can finally open it up, and I've got this entire inside area of 4 panels. Again, I could treat each of the panels as 4 separate pages, or I could treat this as one large page. The best thing you can do is just simply take a piece of paper and fold it up yourself, and that'll give you a good tactile understanding of exactly the area we're working on. I've done that for myself, and so I'm going to jump into my Indesign, and I want to give myself some notes up here in the outer margins just so that I know where the front, back, inside pages, and outside pages are. So grabbing my type tool, I'm going to create a text box. I'm going to call this my front area. So this panel is where it will be on the front. The opposite of it will be the back. Now these edges, both the left and the right, are going to be those 2 inside panels that open up and form the gate of it. So notice you've got 2 outside left and right flaps. They're going to be the opposite on this page. So what we read as the right here is actually this left column on this side. And this left flap is the far right side on this one. So going into our document, this will be our right flap. Excuse me, this will be our left flap. And this will be our right. Now this is for the first page. The inside page, again, I can treat this as one large area simply because it's all going to be shown once it's only opened up. I could put information into individual panels, and I can keep it this way. I certainly want to keep my fold line so that I know where everything is folded and I don't put any important information onto those areas. With this done, now we can begin jumping in and placing all of the different information into this area. I like to start with designing the front and the back of my brochure, simply because that sets the stage for the look and feel for all of the other panels. I've got a great front image, so I'll go up to File and Place, and let's place that cover image into my design. Again, I'm using my blue line guidelines to know where the edge of the front and the back is. And I've also chosen an image that can be bled from the front around to the back of the cover. This adds some great continuity to the overall package of my design. You don't always have to do this. It's usually the front that has a good eye-catching image. But if you're able to, or if you're able to at least bleed some sort of cover from the front and the back, that tends to add some good cohesion to your overall layout and aesthetic qualities of your brochure. In our case, you can also see we've got a variety of colors, and these are good warm and cool colors emphasizing the beach and the sky. I'm going to use these colors throughout the rest of my design. So to do this, I'll grab my color theme tool, and with one click you can see it pulls up a variety of different lights, darks, and midtones that I can work in. I like this first option, so I'm going to simply add those swatches to my panel. Now I can use those anywhere in my design that I need to. Now I can simply throw on some dummy text just to get us started. Now that I've got the front and the back designed, let's focus on the second panels of the gate once those are opened up. Remember, these two panels need to be treated as one large design. However, once they're printed on the flat, they're broken up onto two opposite sides. So here's how I would approach doing this. And it's kind of tricky at first, but you'll get used to it once you get the document set up. I'm going to create a rectangle that's the exact size as the right-hand column. So I'm simply going to click and drag and create my simple rectangle over here. And I'll fill it in just so I can get an idea of its size. Then let's bring it over to this left-hand side where it would be. There we go. And I'm going to align it to this left-hand column here. So this is the way it would look like. It would be our left and our right-hand side by side. And I can drag the width of it to fill in that side. So now I can treat this entire area as one solid design. Then later on I can move over and split it up. When you think about it this way, it makes it much, much easier to visualize what your final design will be. So I'm going to move it off to this edge and actually work on it on its own individual area. Now that I've got the entire area designed, I can simply place it on either side that I want. Notice, however, I've got elements that run across both sides, so I need to make sure everything lines up nicely. I'll select this, and let's get it to line up on the left flap first, so that everything works well there. I'm going to then group everything together, going up to Object and Group, and let's make a copy of it. Edit and Copy. And we can go over to our right-hand side, and let's do a paste and align everything to this right-hand side. Because everything bleeds off the edge, it's okay to have both things on different sides. Just note that you can go to Preview mode, and this will trim off everything, and you can see where everything will trim. Notice that you want to make some tweaks so that it's not awkwardly splitting into different parts. So for instance, I can see that the T on toes in the sand is being cut off just ever so slightly. So what I would want to do is to ungroup everything. We'll select both of these, go to Object and Ungroup, and then I can select the stuff that's on the right and on the left-hand side. So with both of those, I can nudge them over so that they're both moved at the same increments and at the same time. And this could work either way. I could also move it the other way so that the words toes in straddles that a little bit better too. This again depends on the setup and design that you have for your images and as well as for your text, as long as it reads well. Then it's a simple matter of focusing on the inside pages and panel of this particular brochure. Again, when I open this up, I want to think about this as a full page spread, not just 4 separate panels. Though I could use these panels as a starting point to lay out my information. So I could have, if this is the first thing that I see, a large, nice graphic in the center, and then all of my information flowing around it. With all of this done, let's give a quick breakdown of exactly how this will flow. So as I get it printed on my first page, you can see I've got my first panel and my back panel. Then I've got my inside panels of the left and the right. Then when they finally open it up, I've got my entire inside information treated as a full page spread. Now if I go out of preview mode, you can still see that I used my guidelines given for the folds to influence some of the placement of everything that's on here. First of all, the sunglasses fill up the entire 2 panels inside this area. The text for Visitor's Guide is cut right down the center of where it will fold, so there's no awkward folding for the text that's inside of it. If I've got some area that I can't read, I simply placed an image or some sort of color behind it in order to give it more contrast with the picture that's on top of it. And I balanced everything out by placing a variety of pictures and text on this side as well. Notice that the colors that I use still fit the color scheme for both of the front and the inside panels, for the text, and also all of the images. None of that was done by accident. It was done by intentional choice. This inside panel isn't treated as 4 different columns. I placed everything over one large area, and I just used those columns as the basic setup and starting point. Once I'm finished with this, now I can go and I can export it as a PDF. We'll go up to File, down to Save, if you haven't saved already. Then we'll return to File, down to Export, and here's where we can save it as a printed PDF from here. Since we've set these up on individual pages, make sure Pages is selected and choose Export to set up your text that way for that. That PDF is what you're going to upload for this week's assignment.